John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing, two organizations that talk straight about marketing. So I've been promising to get to Mark Ritson, and I apologize for not doing it. So we're going to head over there and see what he's got to say. Mark is writing on that distinctiveness doesn't need to come at the cost of differentiation. Now, the problem or the challenge with this article is I'm not sure he differentiates distinctiveness and differentiation. For me, it's very confusing. Now, I'm a junk mail guy. I know the value of throwing it in the wastebasket. So, I'll just go with it. But he's talking about the challenge is that we all know that there's this, you want to stand out. Cernovich says aggression gets attention and attention gets influence. So, that's been my mantra as I put these together. Okay. But he says from 1933, the theory of monopolistic competition, which I downloaded and is going in my phone so I can read it at my leisure. Edward Chamberlain said that you got to be different. You got to stand out. And Bill Reeves or Rosser Reeves from the Ted Bates Agency said you want to have a unique selling proposition. And M&M's made this famous by saying it melts in your mouth, not in your hand. Okay? And so we kind of grew up on that kind of idea. And then Bill Bernbach took it further, saying you got to stand for something. If you stand for nothing, you'll find nobody against you and nobody for you. Okay? Trout and Reese, who I personally really like, and I like it not because I think they're necessarily right. I like it because I can play their word game in my head. In their book, they say, who was the first one to fly the Atlantic? It was Lindbergh. Who was the first woman? It was Earhart, and I don't know the second. And I always say I should learn it, but I don't. When I moved my wife to Wisconsin, she still continued to go to Dominic's Finer Food for her Italian sausage. I said, Wisconsin is like the capital of sausage outside of Germany. How is it there can't be a good Italian sausage here? And anyway, but there was one slot in her head for sausage, and she goes to one store for produce and another one for vegan products and another one for her meat. And, that's the way it is. Don't argue with her. You got a couple of slots in your head. I really liked it because they kind of merged it with neuroscience. And they said you need to have a single attribute or association. Now, the problem with all of these things is that it rarely works. More often than not, the perceptions were incredibly similar. So you might remember the Energizer Bunny. You might remember it's for Energizer, but you might think it's for Rayovac. It tends to what tends to happen in your head is it all blurs together to whoever advertises the most. And the perceptions are incredibly similar. When you get into data-based marketing, you say, okay, whoa, maybe the products are all the same. So maybe distinctiveness would be better. In other words, Patagonia yesterday said they're not going to, and I can't remember if it's Patagonia or REI. One of them, the founder keeps saying, she go to Goodwill. She go to Goodwill to buy your outdoor gear. But in my head, there's two spots, and this was Trout and Reed says there's two spots maybe, but probably not more than that. And I know REI and Patagonia have the same kind of stuff, and I can't remember which one it was. But one of them, Patagonia, yesterday, because I spoke on this, said they're not going to just put anybody's logo on their stuff. I'm talking imprinted merchandise, because they don't think a company has to prove that they're a B-level environmentalist company. Okay, well, that makes them distinctive. That means I shouldn't even try to get anything from them. I should go to Land's End or Cabela's or 4imprint or Norscott, who's a client. So sometimes you can differentiate yourself without distinctiveness in the unique. I'm sorry, I've got it backwards. As I said, this will be tough. Distinctiveness, you can be distinctive without any differentiating factors. Okay, and Mark does not believe in unique selling propositions because they're easy to replicate. And I don't know, it depends a little bit on how core it is. So FedEx has got the overnight thing down. Yeah, you can ship a lot of different ways, but it's expensive and it's hard. There's a lot of logistics. And I think that's like Amazon, you think they get it here fast. Uline I order from, they get it here fast. Unbelievable. I can order it about 6 o'clock at night after everybody's gone, and I can get it the next day. I don't know how they do that. It's here, even fairly early in the morning. Okay, so he says there's a mountain of evidence to suggest that distinctiveness did not drive brand growth and differentiation rarely mattered or did drive brand. So he's leaning toward distinctiveness. I believe that distinctiveness, I got to go down here. He says we used to think it was 20% awareness and 80% image. Now it's backwards. I think it depends. It depends. If you're buying Oreo cookies, you might buy the generic, you might buy the real official. Is there an image? On the other hand, Tesla, boy, those look good driving down the road, right? I have a Lexus. Why? It's reliable. That's not even their motto. In fact, now that their advertising has changed so dramatically to look like they are sports cars, I'm not going to buy another one, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so our heads are a messy place. I think that's what we can say. Our heads are a messy place, and what he says is, if you really want to boil it down, this is what I like. I like the end here. What do you want the consumer to think when they think about your brand? You want them to think something, okay? Write it down. There's your brand positioning. Because advertising is complicated. Deliver on your promises. Ship good stuff at a value. That's what I tell people. Okay, so now let's get over to Mark. Mark's got another article over here. Accept it. People hate ads. Yes, people hate all ads. Okay, now I'm going to take some issue and I'm going to agree with him on some stuff. One of these days I'm going to goad him into coming to defend what I do to his articles. He says if you go to enough marketing conferences, sooner or later you're going to start to feel like they're all essentially the same. Yes, I do. I go to meet the people, right? And he says the worst is that you go, the person that you went to see doesn't show up. That's oftentimes the case, okay? So he says, but somebody's going to stand up and say, people don't hate advertising, they hate bad advertising. See, I have this advantage. I grew up in junk mail. Most people hate junk mail. I went to the Airbnb or the B&B in Dublin and it said, nice brass plaque, no junk mail. Oh, great. I thought I've arrived. My term has become ubiquitous. Anyway, he says, people don't just hate advertising. People don't just hate bad advertising. Of course they hate bad advertising. But people really don't like any advertising. We'd rather get rid of it. I got the premier YouTube now with no ads. My daughter got it for me. I don't even know the difference. I don't pay attention to ads. I'm in marketing. Okay, and one of the fallacies he says is everybody has a favorite ad. I was trying to think of a favorite ad. I can remember the Apple ad where they sunk their whole budget for the year on one Super Bowl ad where they swung the hammer. It was a woman, I learned later, because I did a series on Super Bowl ads, but I've never bought any Apple products. So go figure, right? Okay, so he uses this particular box here to prove that people all hate ads, and I blew it up for you a little bit. It doesn't really help. And here's the average, and here's China, U.S., and whatever. Now, if you take 24% and add 47 to it, you get 73%. This is the bottom one is I love ads. There's some ads I really like, and this is I don't mind ads. Now he adds the other way. He says, okay, 30 plus is it? Yeah, 30 plus 47 is 77% don't like ads. Only 24% like ads. Well, yeah, you can look at it that way. It's kind of a glass is half empty, don't you think, Mark? Mark, 2/3 of people, almost 75%, like ads. It must be 70%. 24 plus 47 is 71%, and this is 30. Okay, 71%. Sorry, 71%. So more than 2/3 of people like ads. Also, 77. You can add it this way: 77%, 3/4 don't like ads. Only 24% like ads. Okay, you getting my point? Okay, only 11% said they liked advertising, and he says if we would have taken it as I generally like ads, if we would have asked that question, then we would have got a much worse response. Well, that's hypothetical. Anyway, when you start believing advertising is liked, you start making ineffective ones, and there's something to that. David Ogilvy says if you make liver pills, then your headline might want to read, "Do you suffer from liver ailment?" or something, incontinence, or balding, or whatever the heck it is. He said, don't go after the 100% of people that are going to read the magazine or the newspaper and Confessions of an Ad Man. Your ads are hated, ignored, despised, and avoided. Create ones within those limitations to do what they must do. To do what they must do. That's the interesting part. Get the point. Get to the point. Get it across. Okay? And I think we differ like a turd on a footpath, people avoid in order to get on with their day. Deal with that reality. Welcome it. Plan for it. And if you're a junk mailer, that's the way you've always thought. And if a starburst raises your response rate by 0.1%, you go, I love starbursts. I've had some creative directors. I had one I had to fire because he wouldn't run a test. He said, that's going to make our catalog ugly. And I had to agree that it might. But we got a 20%, no, 40%. We got a 40% lift by uglying it up a bit. Sometimes you got to get through, and people still won't notice or care. Thanks, Mark. Have a great day. I hope to get you on the program so that you can defend yourself. I'm John Miglosh.